Alex Carter stood at the viewport of Lunar Base Artemis, his eyes fixed on the blue-green sphere of Earth. Alarms blared around him. Red emergency lights flashed. His hands trembled as he watched black ships descend through Earth's atmosphere. "Commander, we've lost contact with Pacific Command," reported Lieutenant Olivia Wright, her voice cracking. "What about European Central? African Coalition?" Alex asked, unable to look away from the horror unfolding before him. "All gone, sir. It's happening everywhere." The Trizarian warships had appeared without warning. One moment, humanity was going about its daily business. The next, extinction loomed. From his position on the moon, Alex could only watch as columns of fire bloomed across Earth's surface. Cities that had stood for centuries vanished in seconds. "Sir, we're receiving emergency transmissions from Mars Colony and the Europa Station," said Communications Officer Ryan Bell. "They're asking what's happening." "Tell them to go dark immediately," Alex ordered. "No transmissions, no signals, nothing that can be traced." The lunar base shuddered as debris from destroyed orbital platforms rained down. The station's eye calculated they had perhaps hours before the Trizarians noticed their small outpost. In the command center, 37 men and women, all that remained of the lunar personnel after the recent crew rotation, watched their homeworld burn. Some wept quietly. Others stood in stunned silence. "Why?" whispered Dr. Grace Miller, the base's chief scientist. "We never even knew they existed." The answer came 3 hours later. A Trizarian broadcast, translated by the base's computers, played throughout the station. "Attention primitive species designated humans. Your aggressive potential has been deemed unacceptable by the Trizarian Empire. Your removal has been authorized by Imperial Decree 7293. Resistance is unnecessary, as termination is already complete." Alex slammed his fist against the wall. "They killed billions because we might be a threat someday." "Sir," Olivia called from her station, "I've been digging through the emergency protocols. There's something called Operation Phoenix. It was created after the asteroid near-miss of 2042. It's a contingency plan for human survival after an extinction-level event." Alex joined her at the terminal. The plan outlined communication methods, resource allocation procedures, and coordination protocols for scattered human settlements. It was designed for a natural disaster, not an alien genocide, but the principles would work. "Get me a secure channel to every human outpost in the solar system," Alex ordered. "Use the quantum entanglement communicators. They can't intercept those." Within hours, they had confirmation. Nearly 4 million humans had survived across various outposts and colonies throughout the solar system. Mars base heirs with its 1,000 colonists, the research stations on Europa and Titan, mining operations in the asteroid belt, even the long-range expeditions to the outer planets. "They thought they got all of us," Alex said to the assembled lunar crew. They were wrong. That night, as the Trizarian ships departed Earth's orbit, presumably satisfied with their genocide, Alex drafted a message to be sent to every surviving human. "This is Commander Alex Carter of Lunar Base Artemis. Earth has fallen, but humanity survives. We are scattered, we are few, but we endure. This is not the end of our species. It is a terrible new beginning. From this day forward, we implement Operation Phoenix. We will rebuild. We will remember, and one day, we will return." In the darkness of his quarters, Alex looked once more at the burning Earth. The blue had turned to orange and red as fires consumed what remained of forests and cities. Tears streamed down his face, but his resolve hardened. "They should have made sure we were extinct," he whispered. "Because now, all we have left is vengeance." On distant Mars, Europa, Titan, and beyond, surviving humans received his message. Operation Phoenix had begun. Daniel Foster tightened his environmental suit as the airlock opened to Pluto's surface. The distant sun was merely a bright star in the black sky. Behind him, 5 crew members prepared their equipment. Negative 40 minutes of oxygen remaining if we don't find shelter, reported his second-in-command, Lisa Jenkins. We'll find it, Daniel said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. 3 weeks had passed since Earth's destruction. The research vessel, Horizon, had been returning from a deep space mission when they received Commander Carter's Phoenix broadcast. With low supplies and damage from a hasty retreat when they encountered a Trazarian patrol, Pluto was their only hope. The coordinates should be just beyond that ridge, Daniel said, pointing to a jagged formation of ice and rock. They trudged across the frozen surface, each step requiring effort in the low gravity. The facility wasn't on any official map, just mentioned in an encrypted file Daniel had accessed years ago while working in military intelligence. Lisa suddenly stopped. "Captain, look there." A slight depression in the surface revealed a pattern too regular to be natural. Daniel brushed away frost to find a metal hatch with faded Earth Alliance markings. "Help me with this," he ordered. They struggled with the ancient mechanism until it finally yielded with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Lights automatically activated as they descended into a tunnel that led deep below the surface. The facility was massive, much larger than the file had suggested. Dormant machinery filled vast chambers carved from Pluto's interior. "Life support is functioning," announced technician Ben Rogers. "And there's a fusion reactor still running on minimal power." "What is this place?" Lisa asked, removing her helmet. A voice answered from the shadows. "This is Prometheus Station, and you're the first visitors we've had in 15 years. An older woman emerged, her lab coat worn but clean. Her gray hair was pulled back in a practical bun. "Dr. Eleanor Mason," she introduced herself, chief scientist of the Prometheus project. While the crew settled in and began restoring systems, Eleanor explained to Daniel the nature of her work. "We were developing theoretical propulsion systems," she said as they walked through a hangar containing an unusual spacecraft. "Faster than light travel. The project was deemed too expensive and dangerous, so they shut us down. Some of us stayed, continuing the work." "Where are the others?" Daniel asked. "Gone. Disease, accidents over the years. I'm the last one." Daniel told her about Earth, about the billions lost. Eleanor's eyes hardened. "Then our work has new purpose. The prototype is nearly complete." Over the next days, as they brought the facility fully online, Daniel used the quantum entanglement communicator to contact other survivor outposts. The responses were grim. Mars Colony was struggling with damaged life support. Europa Station had repelled a small Trazarian scout ship, but feared more would come. Titan Outpost reported dwindling supplies. "We need to unite what's left of humanity," Daniel told his crew and Eleanor. "And this facility might give us the means." Eleanor showed them her life's work, a drive system that could fold space, allowing travel between star systems in days rather than centuries. "It was theoretical before, but we've had 15 years to refine it," she explained. "The prototype vessel is ready for testing." Daniel contacted Commander Carter on the lunar base. "We found something on Pluto that changes everything," he reported. "A way to gather our scattered people, maybe even find allies." 1 month after Earth's fall, representatives from surviving human outposts gathered at Prometheus Station. Scientists, soldiers, civilians, all that remained of humanity's leadership. They formed the Phoenix Coalition, named after Carter's operation. Their first official act, approving the launch of Eleanor's prototype vessel on a desperate mission to unite the remaining human settlements scattered throughout the solar system. "If we survive," Daniel told the assembled representatives, "it won't be as victims hiding in the shadows. The Trazarians burned our world, but they've only scattered our embers across the stars." Kate Wilson hunched over her workstation, ignoring the ache in her back. For 3 days straight, she had been adapting Nelvari communication technology to work with human neural patterns. The lab around her buzzed with activity as other scientists worked on their own projects. "Any progress?" asked Samuel Hayes, recently promoted to Admiral of the Phoenix Coalition's growing fleet. "Almost there," Kate said, not looking up. The Nelvari communication crystals are designed for their four-lobed brains. Our biology is different, but I think I've found a workaround. It had been 6 months since the formation of the Phoenix Coalition. Daniel Foster's mission had been successful beyond all hope. His ship, using Dr. Mason's experimental drive, had united the human outposts and made contact with the Nelvari, a species with grievances against the Trazarian Empire. Admiral Hayes walked to the viewport that showed their current base of operations, an asteroid hollowed out and hidden in a debris field. Outside, construction drones swarmed around a nearly completed warship. "The Firebird is almost ready," Hayes said. First of her class. The ship represented everything the survivors had learned and adapted. Its hull incorporated Nelvari stealth materials. Its weapon systems were human designs enhanced with salvaged Trazarian technology. At its heart was Eleanor Mason's revolutionary drive system. Kate held up a small device triumphantly. "Got it. This translator will let us communicate instantly across any distance without using traditional signals the Trazarians can detect." Hayes smiled. "Perfect timing. We're testing the Firebird tomorrow." In his quarters that evening, Hayes reviewed the combat tactics he had developed. Traditional space warfare relied on predictable physics and detection systems, but humans had once been prey animals on Earth. They knew how to hide, how to strike from ambush. "The Trazarians expect logical, direct approaches," he explained to his officers the next morning. "We'll use that against them." The Firebird's maiden voyage was more than a test. It was their first deliberate attack against the Trazarians. Their target, a small monitoring outpost on the edge of what had been human space. "All systems nominal," reported the pilot, Jack Lewis, as they emerged from their faster-than-light jump just outside the outpost's sensor range. "Deploy the decoys," ordered Hayes. Small drones shot from the Firebird, each emitting signals mimicking different ship types from various species. As predicted, the Trazarian outpost focused its attention on these potential threats. "They're scrambling their response vessels," said the tactical officer, Maria Diaz. "Their backs are to us." "Take us in, full stealth," Hayes commanded. The Firebird slipped behind the outpost, its hull absorbing and redirecting sensor suites. When they were in position, Hayes gave the order. "All weapons, fire." The outpost never had a chance to call for help. Kate's communication system jammed their conventional channels while the Firebird's weapons tore through their defenses. "Download their databases," Hayes ordered once the outpost was disabled. "Then destroy it completely." As they jumped back to safety, the crew was silent, processing what they had done. It wasn't just their first victory. It was proof their strategies worked. Back at their hidden base, Commander Carter received their report with grim satisfaction. "This is just the beginning," he told the Phoenix Coalition's Leadership Council. "The Trazarians think they eradicated us. They don't understand what they created." Word of the successful mission spread through human outposts. For the first time since Earth's fall, people felt something beyond survival. They felt hope. In distant parts of the galaxy, reports reached Trazarian command of an unauthorized attack. The incident was logged as a minor concern, possibly pirates or scavengers. No one suspected it was the supposedly extinct humans. That night, Admiral Hayes addressed the growing fleet of volunteers. "Today we proved we can fight back. The Trazarians thought they extinguished humanity, but we are the phoenix rising from those ashes, and we will burn brighter than ever before." Beyond human space, other species began to whisper about the survivors of Earth and their impossible victory against the empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. Alex Carter pulled the stolen Trazarian uniform tighter around his shoulders. It didn't quite fit his human frame, but in the dimly lit corridors of Outpost Krell, it might pass a casual inspection. Behind him, 4 other humans, similarly disguised, moved silently. "Security checkpoint ahead," whispered Nicole Graham, their tech specialist. She held a modified scanner that displayed a rough map of the facility. Alex raised his hand, signaling the team to stop. A year had passed since their first victory, and what had started as desperate resistance had evolved into coordinated strikes. Commander Carter was now leading this high-risk mission deep in enemy territory. "Remember, we need access to their central communications array," Alex said. "Once inside, we'll have 5 minutes before their systems detect the intrusion." They waited as a patrol passed, then moved swiftly to a service door. Nicole attached a small device to the control panel. The door slid open without triggering alarms. Back at the Phoenix Coalition headquarters, now hidden in an asteroid belt of a nearby star system, Olivia Wright coordinated intelligence operations. Promoted to Director of Intelligence, she had established a network of informants among species who served the Trazarians unwillingly. "Any update from Carter's team?" she asked her assistant. "Not yet, Director. They should be reaching the communications center now." Olivia stared at the star map showing Trazarian territory. Red markers indicated successful Phoenix strikes over the past year, small but increasing in frequency. On Outpost Krell, Alex's team reached the communications center. 2 Trazarian technicians looked up in surprise. "Maintenance inspection," Alex said in the Trazarian language he had learned. His accent was noticeable but passable. The technicians hesitated. One reached for a console. "Now," Alex ordered. The humans moved with practiced efficiency. Non-lethal stun weapons dropped the technicians before they could raise an alarm. Nicole rushed to the main terminal. "Accessing central network," she reported, connecting their devices. "Downloading sector maps, fleet positions, and wait, I'm finding records of other subjugated species." Alex looked over her shoulder. "How many?" "Dozens. Some were conquered centuries ago. Others recently." She pointed to one file. "The Alteri were attacked just 3 years before Earth. Their resistance continues in isolated pockets. Download everything." These could be allies. While Nicole worked, Alex found the outpost's broadcast controls. He inserted a prepared data crystal. "Ready to transmit our message." Nicole nodded. "All data secured. We have 2 minutes before system alerts trigger." Alex activated the crystal. Across thousands of Trazarian communication channels, a message began to play, not just in their language, but in the tongues of every subjugated species. "We are humanity. We endure. The Trazarian Empire tried to exterminate us, but we survived. To all who suffer under Imperial rule, you are not alone. Resistance is possible. The Phoenix rises, and the fire spreads." Alarms finally blared as the system detected the unauthorized broadcast. "Time to go," Alex ordered. The team retreated through pre-planned escape routes, fighting their way to their hidden ship. As they jumped to safety, reports of the breach reached Trazarian High Command. Fleet Commander Vorix reviewed the incident with growing concern. The humans were supposed to be extinct. "A few survivors, nothing more," his subordinate assured him. "Pests to be eliminated." "Pests don't infiltrate our secure facilities," Vorix replied. "Increase security at all installations. Find these humans and finish what we started." Back at Phoenix headquarters, Alex's team returned to Hero's Welcome. The intelligence they gathered revealed something crucial. The Trazarians had been systematically eliminating species they deemed unpredictably innovative for millennia. "We weren't the first," Alex reported to the Coalition Council, "but we can ensure they're the last empire to try such genocide." That night, on a distant world called Altari Prime, resistance fighters gathered around communication devices, listening to the human message playing again and again. "Who are these humans?" asked one fighter. Their leader looked up at the stars. "Perhaps they are the allies we've been waiting for." Daniel Foster stood on the bridge of the Firebird, watching the battle unfold through the main viewport. Around him, his crew operated with focused efficiency as 3 Altari vessels joined their attack on the Trazarian shipyard. "Altari cruisers have broken through Sector 4, reported his tactical officer. "They're drawing fire from the main defense platforms." Daniel nodded. "Perfect. Move us into position. Prepare to deploy Mason's new warheads." 2 years had passed since humanity's message had spread across Trazarian communication channels. What began as isolated acts of resistance had grown into the Allied Resistance, a coalition of species united against Trazarian rule. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Hayes," called his communications officer. Hayes' face appeared on the screen. "Foster, we've confirmed the shipyard is constructing a new class of dreadnoughts. Taking it out is now priority 1. "Understood, Admiral. We're proceeding with the attack." The shipyard orbited a barren moon, its massive frame housing dozens of partially completed warships. If the Trazarians completed these vessels, they could crush the growing rebellion. "All ships, execute attack pattern Phoenix," Daniel ordered. The Firebird dived toward the shipyard, followed by several smaller human vessels. Their strategy was unorthodox by traditional space combat standards. Unpredictable maneuvers, sudden course changes, and tactics no Trazarian combat computer could anticipate because they were based on Earth sports and animal hunting patterns. Back at the Allied Resistance headquarters, now relocated to a liberated Alteri space station, Eleanor Mason worked with a team of scientists from 6 different species. Her laboratory had expanded considerably from the days on Pluto. The breakthrough came when we combined human neural mapping with Altari crystal technology, she explained to a group of visiting resistance leaders. "The result is a propulsion system that can move faster than anything in the Trazarian fleet." A young assistant rushed into the lab. "Dr. Mason, Captain Foster's attack on the shipyard has begun." Eleanor moved to a monitor showing the battle. Her revolutionary drives powered most of the resistance fleet now, giving them a crucial advantage. At the shipyard, Daniel's ship took heavy fire as they approached their target. "Shields at 40%, reported his engineer. "One more direct hit, and we're in trouble." "Evasive maneuvers," Daniel ordered. "Get us close enough to deploy the warheads." The Firebird rolled and twisted through enemy fire, moving in ways the rigid Trazarian battle doctrine never anticipated. 3 smaller human vessels formed up around them, creating a protective screen. "We're in position," announced the weapons officer. "Deploy warheads now," Daniel commanded. Special missiles, designed by Eleanor Mason and enhanced with technology from 3 different allied species, launched toward the shipyard's power core. They phased through the outer defenses, becoming briefly intangible before solidifying inside the facility. The resulting explosion tore the shipyard apart from within. The Firebird and its escorts barely escaped the shockwave. As news of the victory spread, more systems began to rebel. The Trazarian Empire, once thought invincible, found itself fighting on multiple fronts against enemies using tactics they couldn't predict. In the Imperial Palace on Trazarian Prime, Emperor Zex demanded answers from his military council. "How are these primitives defeating our forces?" he raged. "They are vermin who should have been exterminated." Fleet Commander Vorix stepped forward. "The humans have united our enemies against us. They share technology, strategies. They fight differently than any species we've encountered. Find their headquarters," the Emperor ordered. "Destroy their leadership. Without the humans, this rebellion will collapse." What the Emperor didn't realize was that the story of Earth's destruction and humanity's survival against impossible odds had become legend throughout the galaxy. Even species who had long accepted Trazarian rule began to question their masters. The Phoenix, once a symbol only humans understood, now represented hope to countless beings across the stars. And like the mythical bird, the flames of rebellion continued to spread. Admiral Samuel Hayes stood before the holographic display, showing the Trazarian home system. Representatives from 17 formerly subjugated species filled the war room of the Allied Resistance flagship Liberation. "This is it," Hayes said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "After 3 years of fighting, we've pushed them back to their core worlds. Now we take the fight to Trazarian Prime itself." The plan was bold, perhaps suicidal, but intelligence gathered by Olivia Wright's network indicated the Empire was fracturing from within. Many Trazarian colonies had already surrendered rather than face the Allied fleets. The attack will come in 3 waves, Hayes explained, highlighting sections of the display. The Alteri and Nelvari fleets will engage their outer defenses here and here. Our ships will use the Mason drive to jump directly into the inner system, bypassing their main defensive line. In her laboratory aboard the support vessel Horizon, Eleanor Mason made final adjustments to a special device. At 68, her hands weren't as steady as they once were, but her mind remained sharp. The calculations must be precise, she told her assistant. The targeting system can only function for 90 seconds before burning out. Will you be piloting the delivery ship? The assistant asked. Eleanor nodded. I'm the only one who fully understands how it works. The device, nicknamed the Blackout Box, was designed to temporarily disable Trazarian defensive systems. It would create a window for the Allied forces to reach the capital planet, but delivering it required a one-way trip. As the fleets prepared, Kate Wilson made her final presentation to the Allied commanders. The virus will infiltrate their central network, she explained. It exploits a vulnerability in their base code, one they never fixed because they believed no one could reach their core systems. How long will their defenses be down? Asked an Altari general. 7 minutes, Kate replied. That's our window to end this war. The next day, the largest fleet ever assembled outside of Trazarian control jumped toward the enemy capital. The first shots of the battle were fired as Altari cruisers engaged the outer defense platforms. Aboard his flagship, Admiral Hayes received the signal that the diversionary attack was underway. All Phoenix vessels, prepare for jump. The human fleet, now nearly 50 ships strong, activated their Mason drives simultaneously. They vanished from their staging area and reappeared deep within Trazarian territory, bypassing weeks of conventional travel and countless defensive positions. Alarms spread through the Trazarian command as sensors detected the human fleet so close to their homeworld. Impossible, shouted Emperor Zex from his throne room. No ship can penetrate our defense grid so quickly. But the humans had already proven the impossible was merely improbable. Eleanor Mason piloted her small craft toward the central command station orbiting Trazarian Prime. Enemy fire rocked her vessel, but she maintained course. I'm approaching the target, she reported calmly. Blackout box is ready. Dr. Mason, we can send someone else, Hayes said over the comm. We need your mind more than your courage. Eleanor smiled sadly. Sometimes, the Creator must be present for her creation to work properly. It's been an honor serving with humanity's finest. Her ship collided with the station's outer ring. The blackout box activated, sending a pulse that temporarily paralyzed Trazarian systems across the entire system. In that moment of vulnerability, Kate's virus entered their network. Defense platforms went offline. Warships lost power. Communication systems fell silent. All ships, commence final attack, ordered Hayes. The battle that followed was fierce but brief. Without their technological advantages, the Trazarians found themselves outmatched by the combined forces of species they had oppressed for generations. Admiral Hayes led the final assault on the Imperial Palace. Emperor Zex was captured attempting to flee to a secret bunker. As the Emperor was brought before Hayes, the human admiral didn't gloat or threaten. Your empire is finished, he said simply. Your subject worlds have declared independence. Your fleets have surrendered or been destroyed. The Emperor snarled. You should have remained extinct, human. Hayes looked at him evenly. That was your first mistake. You thought destroying our world would end us. Instead, it forged us into something stronger. As Allied forces secured the capital, news spread throughout the galaxy. The Trazarian Empire had fallen. Alex Carter adjusted his formal uniform as he prepared to address the newly formed Galactic Council. 4 years had passed since the fall of the Trazarian Empire. 4 years of rebuilding, of healing, of transforming military alliances into peaceful cooperation. Nervous? Asked Olivia Wright, now his chief advisor. A little, Alex admitted. I never expected to become an ambassador when I joined the space program. The council chamber had been built on a neutral world, designed to accommodate representatives from 23 species. At its center stood a memorial, a holographic representation of Earth as it once was, beautiful and blue. Ambassador Carter, the council awaits, announced an alteriade. Alex nodded and entered the chamber. Faces turned toward him. Some humanoid, others wildly different from any Earth creature. Yet all shared respect for the species that had catalyzed their freedom. Representatives of the free worlds, Alex began, his voice clear and strong. Today marks the official formation of the Galactic Council, an alliance of equals dedicated to peace and mutual prosperity. He paused, looking at the Earth hologram. 4 years ago, my species faced extinction. The Trizarians destroyed our homeworld, believing they could erase us from history. They failed to understand what humans have always known, that destruction often contains the seeds of renewal. In orbit above them, the flagship Phoenix maintained watch. Admiral Hayes stood on its bridge, gazing down at the council world. The ship was no longer primarily a warship. It had been redesigned as a diplomatic vessel and scientific platform. Status report. Hayes asked his executive officer. All calm, Admiral. The terraforming fleet reports they've reached Phase 2 in the Earth Restoration Project. Hayes nodded with satisfaction. The ambitious project to rebuild Earth had begun a year earlier. Using technologies from multiple species, they were gradually clearing radiation, restoring the atmosphere, and reintroducing life forms preserved in genetic banks. Back in the council chamber, Alex continued his address. Today we formalize what began in fire and desperation, an alliance that proves strength comes not from domination, but from cooperation. Each of our species brings unique perspectives and abilities. Together, we have already accomplished what none could do alone. The chamber erupted in applause. The Galactic Council was more than a political body. It represented a fundamental shift in how civilizations interacted. Later that day, Alex visited the Memorial Garden, where statues honored those who hadn't lived to see victory. Eleanor Mason's statue stood prominently, alongside other heroes from various species. "We did it, Eleanor," he said quietly. "Your drive doesn't just move ships anymore, it connects worlds." As twilight fell, the council gathered one final time to witness a historic transmission. From the partially restored Earth, the first new broadcast was being sent. From the rebuilt United Nations building in what had once been New York. "We speak from Earth reborn," said the transmission. "Though much remains to be done, life has returned to our world. We thank all who have helped in this miracle of restoration." After the ceremony, Alex met privately with representatives from the Council's Security Committee. "There are still threats out there," noted the Nelvari ambassador. "Other empires who might repeat the Trizarians' mistakes. Which is why we've prepared this," Alex said, revealing a formal document. It was titled simply, "A Warning to the Galaxy." It detailed Earth's destruction, humanity's survival, and the fall of the Trizarian Empire. Its conclusion was clear. Any species that attempted genocide would face unified opposition from the Council worlds. "Let this be known throughout the stars," the document concluded. "We are the phoenix risen from ashes. We cannot be extinguished. We will not be forgotten. And we will never again allow genocide to go unanswered." That night, as the document was transmitted to every known civilization beyond Council space, Alex stood alone on an observation deck, watching the stars. "We made it," he whispered to all those lost on Earth years before. "And from your ashes, we built something greater than anyone could have imagined." The phoenix, once a symbol of human defiance, now represented a promise to the galaxy that from destruction could come renewal, and from hatred could emerge unity. A promise written in stars, sealed in memory, and guaranteed by the species that refused to die. 20 years had passed since the formation of the Galactic Council. Earth, once a scorched ruin, now bloomed again with life. Its cities were different, blending human designs with architectural influences from allied species, but the blue oceans and green forests had returned. Daniel Foster, his hair now gray, walked along a beach near what had once been called San Francisco. Beside him strode Krell, an Alteri diplomat visiting Earth for the first time. "It's hard to believe this world was nearly destroyed," Krell said, his 4 eyes blinking in wonder. "The restoration is truly remarkable." Daniel nodded. "Sometimes I still wake up expecting to see the stars from a spaceship viewport, not the sunrise through my window." After the war, Daniel had commanded exploration missions for 5 years before returning to help rebuild Earth. Like many survivors, he found peace in restoration rather than continued conflict. In orbit above them, the Phoenix Academy trained cadets from dozens of species. What had begun as a military alliance had evolved into a center for scientific and cultural exchange. Young humans studied alongside beings their ancestors never imagined meeting. Kate Wilson, now Director of Galactic Communications, addressed the Academy's graduating class that morning. "When I helped create our first secure communication system," she told them, "I never dreamed it would evolve into the translation network that now connects 1,000 worlds. What began as a tool for survival became a bridge between civilizations." The Academy's highest honor that year went to a joint human-Nelvari team who had developed new methods for rehabilitating planets damaged by industrial exploitation. Their techniques incorporated elements from Eleanor Mason's original terraforming research. Far from Earth, at the edge of explored space, Admiral Hayes' final mission was underway. Though retired from active service, he had volunteered to lead an expedition investigating strange signals from beyond known territory. "Sensors detect an artificial structure," reported his science officer. "Design unlike anything in our database." Hayes studied the readings carefully. At 72, his body had slowed, but his mind remained sharp. "Broadcast our standard peaceful contact message," he ordered. "All languages, all frequencies." The response came faster than expected. A simple return signal indicating recognition. "It appears we're not the only ones exploring the unknown," Hayes remarked. "Prepare a first contact team." Back on Earth, in the memorial garden outside the council headquarters, Alex Carter, now merely 60, placed flowers beneath Eleanor Mason's statue. The anniversary of Earth's destruction had become a solemn day of remembrance, but also a celebration of survival. Olivia Wright joined him, leaning slightly on a cane. "The council approved the expansion of the Phoenix Warning Network," she told him. 3 more sectors will have early detection systems by next year. The network, designed to prevent any repeat of the Trazarian genocide, monitored for signs of aggressive expansion or weapons development throughout known space. It had already prevented 2 potential conflicts between emerging civilizations. "Eleanor would be proud," Alex said, "not just of what we built, but of what we chose not to become." That evening, as twin moons rose over New Earth City, built on the foundations of old New York, a ceremony marked the opening of the Museum of Resilience. Inside, artifacts told the story of humanity's near extinction and rebirth. The centerpiece was a simple display, a scorched piece of metal from a destroyed Earth building beside a sapling grown from seeds preserved before the attack. Beside them, the text of humanity's warning to the galaxy was engraved in 30 languages. As visitors from a dozen worlds moved through the exhibits, many stopped to watch historical recordings of those early desperate days after Earth's fall. "Why show such painful memories?" asked a young Trazarian visitor, part of the new generation raised after their empire's collapse. The human guide smiled gently, "Because remembering prevents repeating. The phoenix rises from ashes, but wisdom comes from understanding the fire." Outside the museum, ships from across the galaxy docked at Earth's orbital stations. The world that had once stood alone now served as a crossroads of civilizations, living proof that ending was merely prelude to beginning, and destruction could lead to creation beyond imagination.